We're going to start with Bob Spees, who represents the Mount Diablo Peace and Justice Center.
At this point, our country is behaving like crumbling empires often do, or always have. And our wealth is being diverted into a corrupt and bloated military establishment. Our wealth is going into maintaining over 800 foreign military bases to attempt to maintain our domination around the world. It's going into the mansions of countless military contractors who now line the beltway around Washington. And it's going into the horrific use of remote technology to kill people in a sanitized way around the world. And it's going into maintaining a perpetual state of war, series of wars. Usually those wars have been against opposition that doesn't really have the ability to fight back. But that's changing now that we're challenging and going up against Russia and China. And in the past, there was some recognition of the fact that attempting to provoke military conflict with a foreign power that has nuclear weapons was not a winning strategy. But that recognition seems to have been forgotten this century, and as a result, we're facing the most dangerous situation since the Cuban Missile Crisis. And actually more dangerous in some ways because this time nobody realizes it's happening, or almost nobody. We have a younger generation that is rightly concerned about global warming, but they don't recognize that global warming doesn't stand a chance against nuclear winter. For the last thousands of years, empires have risen and fallen, and ours is following the pattern, and we're in the falling phase. And when empires fall, there have almost always been major military conflicts as they attempt to retain their power. That's happening again, except this time it's happening in a world with nuclear weapons, and that's a change. This time either we're going to do things differently or we're not going to have another chance. I just want to read real quickly a couple of sentences from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is set to begin its military drills in preparation for nuclear war. American B-52 bombers will be joined by advanced aircraft from other alliance members as they simulate a war of annihilation with Russia. The war games, dubbed Steadfast Noon, will begin Monday and run through the end of October. This is a very, very dangerous period.
Hello, friends. My name is Anna Saron-Skibek, and I'm with Women for Racial and Economic Equality. War is a symptom of a problem with deep roots, the capitalist system. It is an economic system that is based on endless growth and limitless expansion. It is this unsustainable system that keeps us constantly at war. Billions of dollars that could be spent on healthcare, schools, and infrastructure is being thrown away to the war machine. This has no benefit to the working class. We can never forget, war is not some isolated event. It's essential for the capitalist system to function. Right here at home, we see the effects of glorifying U.S.-led wars, and the violence against our children in schools, and the violence against people of color by police, and the sexist and bigoted violence against women and the LGBT community, homelessness, poverty, inequality. This is all that capitalism and war can offer the American working class. It's bigger than any of us alone can handle, but together I promise we can win. We can build a safer, more cooperative world for all people by taking a stand against these endless U.S.-led wars. We can do this by demanding the reallocation of funds from the deadly U.S. military budget to fund desperately needed social services like healthcare and education, and by uniting to demand an end to U.S.-led wars and sanctions around the globe.
Sisters and brothers and siblings, in case there's any doubt, we are here today to say no to U.S. wars. We are here today because as activists, union members, community people, students who live in the belly of the beast. It is our job to point the finger at the #1 terrorist of the world, the United States government. And I'm not talking about the people. We're at the beginning of building an anti-war movement. And it's not easy, because there is a barrage of misinformation and lies that we get every day from all media, whether it be right-wing media, Fox, or Democracy Now!, it doesn't seem to matter. And we certainly aren't getting any truth from the Democrats and the Republicans, because they're both hoping. This is a war. This is, first of all, a proxy war that the Ukraine has been forced to be involved in. And the United States, its end goal, besides world domination, is to destroy Russia on the way to China. Because the United States wants to bring down a country like China that is actually surpassing the U.S. I get very happy when it happens, with technological achievements around the world. So we're here today to say no to all U.S. wars, from Palestine to the Philippines to Haiti to the Ukraine.
All right, sisters and brothers, it's very good to be here at this demonstration. You know, whether it's a demonstration like this or a demonstration of 200,000 when the United States bombed and invaded Iraq, we do what we can, and we start somewhere, and eventually we'll end up somewhere. We'll end up dismantling the military-industrial complex and kicking out of office all the politicians that support them. I've just, to tell you who I am, I was in the military, and I served in South Korea in the occupation after that brutal war that was waged in Korea, which is really, it was kind of like World War I. It was just machine gunning people to death. It was just and bombing. It was just an incredibly disastrous war for the people of Korea. And of course, we followed that up with Vietnam. But what happened with Vietnam was a nationwide...
Got 1 minute left.
Oh, I got 1 minute left to tell the whole history of United States imperialism. Okay.
War, chaos. War, chaos.
All right. Anyway, Vietnam had a tremendous anti-war movement that actually shook this imperialist structure to its foundations. They didn't know what to make of this. It came out of nowhere and hit them in the face. And that's what we need to do it again. We need the Veterans for Peace. We want to see an end to all these wars. We want to see an end to these wars. And I'm a member of Chapter 162 here in the East Bay. And there's also a magnificent Chapter 69 across the bay in San Francisco. And before I bore you with our organizational structure, I just want to say it's a pleasure to be here and to see all these faithful people who are fighting to end these wars, to end these imperialist wars, which the United States is imposing on the peoples of the world. Thank you.
Give a warm welcome to Darren Grant from the League of Young Communists. Darren, welcome.
How's everybody doing today? I can't hear you. Come on, a little bit louder. There we go. My name is Darren. I'm with the League of Young Communists USA. We're out here in solidarity with a bunch of other groups, Veterans for Peace, World Workers' Party, and UNAC. There's a lot of questions on people's minds today in America. From houselessness, impoverishment, overworked workers. But on brighter notes, the rejuvenation of the labor movement. We've seen a massive spike in unionizations from Starbucks to even strikes in coal mines. But today we're here for something even more important. Something that's a threat that could end it even quicker than climate change could. Something that hasn't come up since the 80s, and this is the possibility of nuclear war. Over the past 30 years, NATO, the EU, and the US have plundered the world unopposed, like a sadistic checklist. They even, I wish I could remember his name because there was somebody from the Pentagon that actually released a 7-country checklist of the Middle East. There we go. And even today, or even just recently, Afghanistan now starves under sanctions. Israel continues its genocidal war against the Palestinians. And Cuba is being strangled every day for the past 60 years for the goal for expelling the mobsters and the gangsters that were put in place by the US. Now, with over 1,000 military bases around the world, anybody left
Got 1 minute.
anybody left standing opposing them gets surrounded. There's always a little joke, is like, how did their country get so close to our military bases? Well, why are they always there? There's obviously their typical targets, Iran, Venezuela, but there's some now that have grown too big for them to sanction by the IMF and the World Bank. China and Russia. And they're willing to risk the safety of all life on Earth just to stay at number one. Today is not the time for sectarianism. You can't do this alone. So, the League of Young Communists, the World Federation of Democratic Youth, and so many others around the world would like to call everybody in a mass action to rejuvenate what hasn't been seen in this country in generations. Not just from the old labor movement that used to be able to put everything to a standstill, but not even just Vietnam. We need something even bigger than Vietnam movements in order to put an end to this kind of barbarity. Venceremos.
Again, like I said, we're at the beginning of the anti-war movement. And we have in the Bay Area an incredibly active and politically conscious union, the ILWU, Local 10, International Longshore and Warehouse Union. They have taken a stand throughout the decades against racism, to support the teachers, and against war and against the bombing of Gaza. There is not a union in history that has taken these progressive stands, and in 2008, they shut down the port against the war. We're hoping that we can look forward to many future collaborations as we move forward with this new anti-war movement. So I would like to introduce Jack from the ILWU Local 10. He is retired. He is also with the Labor Action Committee to free Mumia Abu-Jamal.
We're going to the Ukraine. The labor movement has the power to stop this war if we can refuse to handle the military cargo. So victory to the working class, end the goddamn war in the Ukraine. Thank you.
This is sort of where we are right now with this new anti-war movement, and we have to hold firm. Those of us who have that, we have that history and that vision, that's great. But I really appreciate the young people who have come forward and who are beginning to oppose the war. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce Robert Hernandez, who is with the Party of Communists USA.
My name is Robert Hernandez, and I'm with the Party of Communists USA. It has been our historical tradition as communists to be involved in the anti-war movement. We plan on continuing this tradition. We are here today to show solidarity to all types of struggle. We are here with the unions. We are here with the labor movement in general, companies that are trying to form unions such as Amazon, Starbucks, and a couple of other ones not mentioned. We're here with the peace movement. You know, we need peace. We are representatives of the working class, and we fight for the working class. That is something that is desperately needed in this country, as we are constantly downtrodden and exploited. We oppose NATO, as they are, as somebody else had mentioned, the biggest terrorist organization this world has ever seen. They are incessant in their demand to rule the world. They will stop at nothing. They will slaughter us all if they are given the opportunity. We need to oppose that. We need to come out more and more. We need to be here every week, every weekend. We need to build a strong movement in Northern California and the United States as a whole. You know, we are in solidarity with a lot of groups internationally, and we need to just continue to build this momentum. I want to thank everybody for showing out today. This is a great turnout, but as stated as well, this is the beginning. This is only the beginning. We will continue to grow and to grow. We will be in the hundreds of thousands if we continue this momentum now. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to turn the speaker platform over to me. I'm Jeff Macker, and I represent United National Anti-War Coalition, UNEC, the National Administrative Committee. I'm also the National Secretary of Socialist Action and the director of the Mobilization to Free Mumia Abu Jamal, and the organizer of 4,000 people who signed on to defend Alice Walker under the theme, "Stand with Alice Walker, anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism." Let me talk about the war in Ukraine. I have a pamphlet here that you might be interested in. The war in Ukraine started in 2014, where the U.S. government backed a fascist-led coup that overthrew the democratically elected government of Ukraine and established a new government that literally walked into the Rada, the parliament, banned all the parties that had power that were elected a new government led by 5 fascist open members of the fascist Svoboda Party and the right sector, including the Minister of War, the Minister of Security, the Minister of Agriculture. They were all openly right-wing fascists backed by the United States. And the pretext for this takeover of the parliament was supposedly that Yanukovych fired on in the Maiden Square a crowd of innocent people, instantly killing 100 people. But Victoria Nuland, the U.S. representative, spilled the beans on that, and it turned out that the bullets were fired by the fascist troops with the knowledge of the United States as a pretext to throw out the government physically. And with arms, they took over the Rada, and the first thing they did was they passed a law banning the Russian language and ordering the Ukrainian troops to march on the Donbass and Luhansk area with Russian-speaking people to wipe them out. And when the Russian-speaking people and others mobilized in Odessa to oppose the coup, they were met with fascist violence. They burned down a trade union headquarters. They forced people to jump from the building. And when those who survived, they clubbed them to death. And when they ordered the troops in the east to march on the people of the Donbass, the entire Ukrainian army in the Donbass and Ukraine and Luhansk in eastern and southern Ukraine deserted and joined the Russian army. They took a referendum vote in Crimea. 97% voted to affiliate with Russia and not the Ukraine. That's the history. And I'll close with this. Today we are witness to a multi-trillion-dollar deal, fraud by the United States government to substitute supplying Germany and Western Europe with fracked liquid national gas and wipe out the ability of the Russians to do so by blowing up the 2 Nord Stream pipelines, which they just did. That's a billion-dollar gambit by the United States. Our next speaker is Ricardo Ortiz, who is going to read a message because our demonstration is supported. There are 60, 70 actions across the United States and the world today. He's reading a message from the Workers' Party, PO of Argentina. Let's welcome Ricardo Ortiz.
Before I read my statement, I just want to say something. I am Puerto Rican, and I say U.S. out of the colony of Puerto Rico. And the second sentence is, stop the repression against militants in Puerto Rico that support the Cuban Revolution. That's right. On the 30th of October this year, this damn FBI went to harass members of the Juan Rios Rivera and the Committee of Solidarity from Puerto Rico. So I'm going to read the statement sent all the way from Argentina right now. The Workers' Party, the Partido Obrero of Argentina, the largest communist party in Argentina, salutes the demonstrations called for October 15 in the cities of the United States against imperialist presence in Eastern Europe. We say war against the war and down with the capitalist governments responsible for the massacre. The main aggressors, without a doubt, are NATO, the US, the European Union, and their puppet government in Ukraine. Their military presence is part of an effort to their military presence is part of their effort to recolonize Russia and China and complete capitalist restoration under imperialist control that puts the world on the brink of a new global war. We also reject Putin's occupation, whose policy and methods for attempting to become a military capitalist players have no progressive, democratic, or anti-imperialist perspective. We support all the United Fronts against all United Fronts to make a mass movement against imperialist wars and oppression. Down with the war, down with the imperialist penetration.
Viva! And viva the end of all U.S. wars. Time for the U.S. to withdraw its troops from everywhere. And it would be quite a homecoming for all of the millions of troops that are all around and all of this dismantling of the bases. You know, for people who say, there's a lot of people very confused about what's going on in the Ukraine and what's going on with Russia, and Russia has been demonized very much, very reminiscent of Saddam Hussein, very reminiscent of Ho Chi Minh and the Vietnamese at the beginning of the war. Russia has 6 military bases outside the borders of Russia, all on the borders of Russia. Anybody know how many bases the U.S. has?
1,000.
1,100, over 1,100 bases, and more every day. So in terms of who is the aggressor, who is the terrorist in the world, it has to be the U.S., one and only. Our next speaker is someone who is very familiar to many of us, Steve Zeltzer. He is with Labor Video. He is also with the, I'm going to say it right, the United Front Committee for a Labor Party.
And I'm happy we're here today. There should be thousands, but at least we're here today to oppose U.S. imperialist intervention in the Ukraine and around the world. The United States is heading towards a nuclear war. It's pushing for the invasion of many countries around the world. So what is causing this? Well, U.S. imperialism is on decline, and when imperialism goes in decline, they become more adventurous, and that's what Biden is. But Biden is not alone. He's supported by the Republicans. This is a bipartisan policy of the Democrats and Republicans. The $50 billion for this war is being passed at the same time there are people dying in the streets of Oakland and San Francisco, all over this country. There's a war on the working class here. And next weekend, there's going to be a rally for the railroad workers who've been told they can't really strike under the Railway Labor Act. So we have to unite the working class. We believe there should be a united front. Barbara Lee and these Democrats who vote for war are war criminals. That's who they are. We have to unite the working class. We have to, and on December there's going to be a strike action by Cobus in Italy against the war. And we're calling for an action, similar action around the world and at the San Francisco Federal Building on December the 4th. We need united working class action to stop the war. That's the power, really, to smash U.S. imperialism. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Our next speaker is from a political party that I am proud to be a member of. And it's a party that runs candidates, which is also pretty amazing. So I would like to, when I first came to California, the first thing I did was join the Peace and Freedom Party because of its incredible history in support of people's movements. We have here today Eric Bergman from the Peace and Freedom Party to give a short solidarity message.
Thank you. I'm chair of the Alameda County chapter of the Peace and Freedom Party. I'd like to add to what Jack Heyman said. We support the immediate release of Mumia from prison. We believe that this would be a serious blow to leaders in the Democratic and Republican parties. We also support removing every U.S. soldier from foreign nations and bringing them here. We support decent living conditions for the working class and low-income people. This includes decent education, decent housing, decent transportation, and decent medical care. Thank you.
Let's give a warm, very warm welcome to a tireless anti-war social justice fighter. Let's welcome Code Pink Women's for Peace, San Francisco Bay Area's Cynthia Papermaster.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for being here today. Thanks very much. I like a man who isn't afraid to wear pink. Thank you very much, Jeff. So we're facing the threat of nuclear war. Yesterday, we picketed our California senators in San Francisco, Dianne Feinstein and Alex Padilla. And we are expecting responses from them. Every single Democrat in Congress has voted for weapons to send to Ukraine. They are not calling for ceasefire. They are not calling for negotiations. They are not calling for an end to the war, and they are inflaming the war. And now we are on the brink of nuclear war. I don't know about you, but I can barely sleep at night now. This is not a good situation for us in the entire world, and we have to stop it. And I invite you to come tomorrow to the UC campus at noon. We're going to be doing something called the Nuclear War Follies. We're dressing up as clowns and jesters and elves because the ultimate folly is even thinking about using a nuclear weapon. So join us at noon tomorrow on the Sproul Hall steps. And you can dress as a clown or not. We have a lot of red clown noses that we are going to distribute. And we're going to be making a video about 10 minutes long. It includes duck and cover drills. Do people remember the duck and cover drills? Yeah. It's absurd. And then we will actually have a nuclear weapons attack, and then we'll have a nuclear winter, and then we are going to rise up, which is what we all should be doing to demand they lessen the threat of nuclear war right now. Thank you.
Next speaker is a long-term, young activist who is a rank-and-file teacher at the San Francisco Unified School District. Let's give a warm welcome to Dayton Andrews.
So, I think we really need to understand that we're on the brink of nuclear war today. You know, the war in Ukraine is a proxy war being fought by two imperialist powers, and the United States is willing to fight Russia down to the last Ukrainian. Democrats and Republicans are complicit in the imperialist system, but we have to be clear that the current war dogs are the Democrats. We can't fall for the fake progressivism of Barbara Lee, Ro Khanna, Rashida Tlaib, AOC. All of these criminals are calling for nuclear war. And Congress has sent over $52 billion for the purchase of weapons. The media monopoly in this country is censoring the truth of this war, while those that speak out, like Julian Assange, Daniel Hale, a journalist and soldier who spoke out against war crimes, are rotting in jail right now. U.S. imperialism is running amok in the world today. It has allowed the Saudi kingdom to decimate the people of Yemen for almost 8 years. U.S. troops are running buck wild all over the continent of Africa, all in the name of anti-terrorism. And this interference has led to 5 military coups in West Africa alone in the last 2 years. We have to fight together. Students, veterans, longtime activists have to come together to fight for this. We have to, not just in words, but in actions. We have to bring back civil disobedience, not just targeting highways, but the actual war profiteers and weapons manufacturers themselves. We cannot survive business as usual. We can't settle for lesser of two evilisms. We can't just vote like our lives depend on it. We have to literally fucking fight for our lives. The interests of working people will never be safe under U.S. imperialism, U.S. oligarchic capitalism. We must overthrow this imperialist system and actually put the working people in power. So thank you for being out here today. All power to the people.
All power.
I'm Ryan Cotton from the California United Front. The end of the genocidal neoliberal system has come to a catastrophic hyperinflation and the white-hot danger of thermonuclear war. In response, BRICS Plus, led by China and Russia, are moving toward a new, just international economic order, one capable of expanding China's Belt and Road Initiative into a global mission to eradicate hunger and poverty. Realizing this potential demands a united front to halt the U.S.-NATO march toward Armageddon war and put an orderly end to the City of London and Wall Street's global speculative bubble. Biden, George Soros, and the globalists want war with Russia and China. Biden and the Democrats and Republicans are leading America down a path of famine, fascism, and nuclear war. Why are Americans paying the cost to send Zelensky $100 million every 24 hours? They just sent another $12 billion to Ukraine, and here they can't take care of the people. We're on the brink of a global food crisis. Reliable energy supplies and sanctions on the food supply are getting is getting destroyed by the imposition of Malthusian limits on land, fertilizer, pesticides, and energy. The West has now manufactured an energy crisis in Europe, and it's a big one. Bombing Nord Stream 2 pipeline into the Baltic, leaving Europe without energy for the winter. People will die in Europe as a result of the geopolitical chess piece they're using Ukraine and in Russia. The politicians and mainstream media told us how much they care about saving lives from COVID and the environment. But none of this matters if there's a nuclear war, which the imperialist policies provoke. They voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. They're voting to start a third nuclear war with Russia and China. Our representatives are driving us toward a new imperialist world war, a war that Americans have nothing to gain. Why are they playing with Americans' lives? Why are they playing with our lives? Defund Ukraine. U.S. out of NATO. No nuclear war. No nuclear war. No nuclear war.
This is where I get a chance to speak and deliver a short statement from Workers' World Party. And I just wanted to make it really clear that Workers' World Party sees the anti-war movement abroad within the context of the war at home that all of us are facing, and particularly Black and Latinx and indigenous communities in the United States. We are opposed to, I would really appreciate if you would take your discussion somewhere else right now. Thank you. And just show a little respect for the speaker. Thank you so much. I doubt it, but thank you so much. So we are opposed to all U.S. wars. We have a statement that has 3 articles that I hope that everyone has gotten a copy of, and I also have copies of our newspaper. We see the fight for unions, for Amazon and Starbucks workers, the fight against the assassinations of Black and Latinx youth, the deportations, the attacks on the LGBTQ, particularly trans youth, as all part of the same struggle. We are opposed to U.S. imperialism, and our job is to bring down our Pentagon, to bring down our system, and hopefully usher in a system that cares about people's needs and not corporate greed.
1 minute.
Okay, thank you. I have a 1-minute timing. So it is all part of the same struggle, and no struggle is, you can't say any struggle is separate. It's all part of the struggle of the working class in this country to take power. And that's what we're for, because we're tired of the Bezoses, we're tired of the Musks, we're tired of the billionaires murdering people, we're tired of the genocide, the theft of native land, the fact that Leonard Peltier and Mumia and Mutulu Shakur have been in prison for decades for defending their communities, for speaking out, for being the voice of the voiceless. It is all part of the same struggle. Today,
let's give a very warm welcome to a lifelong Haitian activist representing the Haiti Action Committee, Pierre Lavoisier.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you, sisters and brothers, everyone gathered here. Thanks a million for your solidarity, for inviting me here to speak on behalf of the Haiti Action Committee and in the name of the Haitian people. There has been an uprising taking place all over Haiti. It's been going on for decades now, against 18 years of the United Nations U.S. occupation of Haiti. And that occupation is the continuing occupation that started in 1915. So Haiti has known over a century of U.S. dominance to steal the resources of Haiti, and that has triggered massive exodus of the people of Haiti, fleeing the hell that was created from the 1915 original invasion, going through the Duvalier years. Duvalier was a lackey of U.S. imperialism, and continuing to the present. People in Haiti recently have intensified their uprising, have intensified their resistance of U.S. imperialism, supported by the French, the Canadians, and other countries that are part of this imperialist venture in Haiti. And it's about the same thing as that brought Christopher Columbus to the land. It's an operation of conquest, a war of genocide to steal resources, to steal gold and other resources. Haiti has plenty of resources, mineral resources, petroleum, gold, copper, uranium, marble, iridium. Those are the things that are in the Haitian subsoil that they want to get. In addition to that, they also want to exploit Haitian workers to pay them $2 a day or $3 a day so that they can continue to undercut the wages of unionized workers, not only in the U.S., but worldwide. And so I'm stopping right here. Thank you very much, because I tend to get very excited about this, with an appeal to solidarity. We are going to be in the streets. We are the Haiti Action Committee, and we want your support and your solidarity. We call for an end to the racist narrative that's out there, as if Haiti is a basket case, as if the Haitian masses, the masses of our sisters and brothers, do not know what they want, and it's leaderless, and there is no leadership, or people don't know what's going on. Finally, to end, I want to say this, and it's very important. Be careful of those false leftists who are going around talking left about Haiti. They are in the pocket of U.S. imperialism, and they bring a message of confusion so people can say, we can't understand what's going on. And some of these leftists are bringing up barbecue and other death squads, right-wing death squads, as if they are revolutionary leaders. Nothing could be further from the truth. And so we count on you to please stay in touch with us, HaitiSolidarity.net, and we'll be in touch with you all. Thank you.
From Haiti to the Philippines, stop the U.S. war machine. From Haiti to the Philippines, stop the U.S. war machine. I'd like to introduce Rick Cotton with the Progressive Labor Party.
My name is Rick Hurst. I'm a member of the Progressive Labor Party. And I agree with the hatred that we're all showing for the capitalist system and the horrors that it generates. It makes my blood boil. It makes all of our blood boil. We should get rid of this capitalist system. Actually, our marching orders are smash the borders, smash the capitalists, a communist revolution to transform this miserable system into something that the workers can live with, that we can live with. No more war, no more sexism, no more racism, no more poverty. Overthrow the capitalist class and its ideology. Thank you.
So I want to tell you about UNEC. UNEC is a national anti-war coalition that called this demonstration in cities across the United States. As we are here, there are actions against U.S. wars and intervention, against the U.S. war, against the people of the world and the people of the United States. In 60, if not 70 different cities, in 6 cities in Canada, in Berlin, and around the world. We have 150 affiliates here, and we had a couple of hearty meetings to plan this rally, where, to be frank, we expected probably a handful of people in these difficult days. So the fact that 70 of you have shown up, even though we have our disagreements, is a step in the right direction. We do need a united front against all U.S. intervention and imperialist war. That's what we did in the Vietnam period. I was a newcomer in those days, and the statistics show that 14% were for out now. The rest were for better dead than red in the middle of the McCarthy era. We couldn't have a single socialist speaker without being red-baited off the platform, if not having our demonstrations broken up. But we prevailed. We broke the back of the McCarthy era. We joined with Dr. King and Malcolm X in opposing the Vietnam War. We mobilized tens of millions of people, and we stopped the slaughter of the United States, which murdered 4 million Vietnamese. Today, they murdered 1.5 million Ukrainians. In the U.S.-backed Iran-Iraq war, they killed 2 million Iraqis, fostering a war.
Sisters and brothers and siblings, there is a really important organization, which is the Black Alliance for Peace, which is holding demonstrations against U.S. involvement and invasions all over Africa. We have a very special speaker, Lemon from the Black Alliance for Peace.
Blessings, everyone. My name is Lemon, he, him pronouns, and I'm a member of Black Alliance for Peace Bay Area chapter. There is a collective grieving I feel called to speak on today. Living under the U.S. imperialist capitalist regime, they ensure that we never acknowledge this grief so that we cannot heal. We all have grief rooted so deep that it intertwines beyond tree roots. U.S. imperialism is and has been murdering people all over the world to achieve a full spectrum of world domination. This very land we are standing on today is stolen land. The Ohlone people were massacred for the colonization of this land. Lake Merritt was a fruitful lake with salmon, frequently visited by bears and moose. Now there are thousands of fish that have been murdered by capitalism. Where are all of the fruit and nut trees? We are all connected to the land, and when we listen, she weeps from the crimes of capitalism and colonization. We are all connected to each other, our siblings across the world in Ghana, Haiti, Tigray, Ukraine, Iran, Puerto Rico, Palestine, Hawaii, the Philippines. They are all begging us to tap in and connect our movements, acknowledge our collective grief and the strength we hold together. U.S. imperialism and propaganda want us to believe there is no rage. There is a rage inside all oppressed people, whether it is channeled at patriarchy or not. We must channel that rage into creation. Revolution is a form of creation, creating new ideologies, solidarity, ways of living, new systems, new relationships. We must demand the close of the African Command, the Indo-Pacific commands, and all other military bases the U.S. government has. This October marks the 14th anniversary to the treacherous command structure with bases that are now in dozens of African nations. AFRICOM, the U.S. African Command. We say the brutality, violence, and systemic degradation of black life in the colonized zones of the United States against black people is replicated in Africa by the U.S. global police, represented by the Pentagon and U.S. intelligence agencies. The campaign on AFRICOM is an integral element of our general opposition to U.S. global militarization. The United States has approximately 800 to 1,000 overseas bases and is the #1 arms merchant on the planet. Over $150 billion of the people's resources are being spent on U.S. bases in Africa and around the world to police people on behalf of the U.S. corporate and financial elite. The people's resources are being squandered to support imperialist adventures. Imperialist adventures must be seized by the people and used to address the human rights needs of Black people and other oppressed people and exploited peoples for housing, healthcare, education, food, and clean water, instead of on war on behalf of the capitalist dictatorship. The African peoples who find themselves on the receiving end of the violence are saying to the people of the United States to demand the U.S. withdraw its troops and its money from Africa. It is clear the introduction of AFRICOM has resulted in less security, less democracy, and diminished human rights for African people. There is only one way to truly heal, and that is through revolution. End the war on Africa and African people in the U.S. and abroad. Stand with the people, oppose war and militarism in every part of the world. Close all U.S. and NATO bases. Thank you for sharing space. Blessings.